You guys just like you keep coming around. I just keep hearing about you guys.
You guys got some fantastic golf, so I'm gonna have to get a round or two in out there.
I love the game. I had a passion to play the game, not only football, but I love the game of golf and what it lends to a person.
Let's take this thing to the moon, make the drop well known, better than it's ever been before.
Marion is a place where I just love that golf course.
So listen, I'm a big New Jersey golf guy. You're very kind, Mike. It's a pleasure to be on just a couple of Jersey boys here talking about something we love. All the best. I really enjoyed it.
One vote changed this bracket. One upset changed the board. Hominy Hill is gone. Crystal Springs is out. And this episode has everything. Upsets, razor-thin finishes, huge vote totals, and a Sweet 16 that looks nothing like people thought it would. This is one you do not want to miss. This episode is presented by All County Exteriors. If you're a homeowner or builder in New Jersey, there's one name you need to know. For exterior and interior modeling, it's All County Exteriors. And with over 40 years of experience as a third-generation, family-owned company, you're getting more than just a contractor. You're getting a team that stands behind their work. They're offering an instant 20% off a limited time. Email info@allcountyonline.com to schedule your free consultation. All County Exteriors. Quality you can trust from people who care. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro. Welcome back, Drop Pod people. Pro, we are back and better than ever, my man.
Yeah, listen, we're into the Sweet 16. Looking forward to having the discussion. Before we get into that, I just want to give one quick shout out. You know, I've been out here on the golf course at Manasquan. I've heard from other pros about their conditions. Listen, the winter was tough. It was difficult on golf courses. So I want to give a shout out to all the superintendents in the state of New Jersey, and not only New Jersey, just around the Northeast, that are working their tails off to get the golf courses ready. Head superintendents, assistant superintendents, the whole entire maintenance crew. They're doing a fantastic job. They're getting these golf courses ready to go. You know, April 1 is right around the corner. It's going to be handicap posting season here very soon. So just want to give them a shout out. They certainly deserve it year round, but they definitely deserve it this spring.
Yeah, no doubt about that. As we kind of go through, this might be one of the most loaded episodes you and I have had since 2026 has begun. I mean, we got March Madness in full effect. We got our recap of our first ever Tee to Green event in person, 32 people, 16 teams, an unbelievable finish. And then I also want to kind of recap my day out there at McCullough's Emerald Golf Links. You know, I know we kind of saw the stories out there on Friday and we set an over-under. I kind of want to get into that as well. But as we have here for the last 3 weeks, we have really talked a lot about March Madness. It's one of those things on socials has been one of the hottest things that we've done. Shaq is absolutely killing it when it comes to each of the graphics. The amount of engagement, comments, DMs that people are talking about. How is this team winning? How is that team not winning? He put out the poll this weekend about would the number one seed actually win the tournament, and overwhelmingly 75% of people said they would. So we kind of can hear what's going on. But as we went through the board this week, man, oh man, the biggest upset had to be Nob Hill taking down Hominy Hill by a wide margin, 435 votes to 371. I know that's something that we will dive deep into once I show the bracket here. You had another upset. You had Eagle Ridge taking down Running Deer, damn near doubled them up. If my math is right, 378 to 189. Probably did double them up if my math is kind of correct. And I think that, you know, we've said it every week, and I think you've echoed this, Pro. Your vote matters. Wild Turkey beats Crystal Springs by just a single vote. What a week. What turnout in terms of the voting. Before I release the brackets, Pro, what do you think of what you've seen so far?
Yeah, listen, you already highlighted, but listen, third week in a row that a match is decided by one vote. So you talked about it. We've talked about it. The votes count. Every single vote counts. So there might be people that are like, man, look at this wide margin. This isn't even going to be close. You never know because you don't know who's going to turn out for each specific golf course. But yeah, I mean, Nob Hill taking down Hominy Hill. I know on a personal level, I had Hominy Hill going pretty darn deep. So Nob Hill taking them down, upset, but very, it's not a surprise for me. I had Nob Hill as one of my sleepers, and they're obviously making a nice run here. Eagle Ridge was a big pick for you, so that's a big win on your side. Eagle Ridge kind of, taking down Running Deer there, but some great matchups. We're going to obviously dive into it, talk about it, and incredible Sweet 16 matches on the horizon.
All right, so here we go. I'm going to release the schedule. I'm going to release the bracket. Everybody probably saw this yesterday out on Instagram, but I am going to put this up here. But I'm going to start here with the actual leaderboard. Now, if I'm correct, my screen is up there for you to take a peek at.
Yes, sir.
All right, so listen. It's kind of hard when you look at this screen to not fully understand who is who, but Burke Spencer, okay, is winning the March Madness with 560 points. Now, for us people that know CCU Golf 12, that is still Greg Johnson out there at Shoregate Golf Club. He went to Coastal Carolina, hence the name. So those guys are still up in front. And what we don't see on the leaderboard is you and I. I had to keep going through a couple tabs to find your name and then find my name. But I do want to show the leaderboard. I do want to shout it out. Burke Spencer is our leader heading into the Sweet 16 with 560 points.
Yeah, listen, those guys that are on that top 10 in front of us right now, they know what they're talking about. Maybe they should be running this podcast instead of us because obviously we don't know what we're talking about. But listen, we're going to continue to highlight it. We're going to continue to talk about the upsets, the higher seeds advancing, etc. But really good picking so far by a lot of people, and look forward to seeing how it continues to shake out.
All right, and so here we go. Let's pull up the first side. This is the North region, okay? And you can kind of see the votes are tallied right in there. You guys all saw it yesterday on Instagram. We are now going to discuss and dissect the entire thing. All right, Pro, when you look at these numbers here on the board, what do you see in the North region?
Yeah, so Francis Byrne obviously continuing to be a very, very strong number one seed, and I think they're going to be tough to beat. They really are. They're going up against Charleston Springs South here in the Sweet 16. Listen, Monmouth County, they're holding strong a little bit there. They are, but they're going to go up against a very, very difficult one seed. And then we got a Southern Regional matchup. We really do. When we got, Twisted Dunes going up against Seaview Bay Course. I mean, we are in the deep South right there. We're going to see how it plays out, on a personal level there. If I was making a vote right now, I definitely would take Twisted Dune, and I would think that they're going to advance in that matchup. But, Twisted Dune coming out of there, Seaview Bay Course coming out of there. So just a great Southern Regional matchup in the Sweet 16. But, man, on paper, when we're down into that Final Four and we're going into that second weekend, in March Madness, it looks like Francis Byrne is definitely going to be tough to beat in the North region.
Yeah, I think, obviously they're my Pete. That's my team. That's my golf course. I've said enough that I need to say about them. Again, Charleston Springs holds on barely and wins by 4 votes. Again, you want to talk about your vote matters. There's another good indication of why we say that. But the one matchup you and I highlighted at length last week in the North was Galloping Hill versus Twisted Dune. We thought Galloping Hill could give Twisted Dune a run for their money, knowing the following on the social media, knowing how many people actually truly love the golf course. But Twisted Dune just frankly ran away with it. Both stories were shared by both golf courses, so you couldn't say one was and one was not. But Twisted Dune kind of flexed his muscles. And again, the numbers in terms of how many votes were accumulated by the golf course, we thought last week was a lot. But I mean, you look in this region alone, you got Francis Byrne damn near 500. You got Twisted Dune over 400. We had some high numbers of votes here, which makes for tomorrow's voting. Yes, I did say tomorrow on Instagram, things will go live. A very interesting Sweet 16 matchups because you got Francis Byrne, you got the heavyweight up there, you got Twisted Dune, who seems to be kind of just manhandling opponents. We'll see if they can do it again to kind of reach the Elite Eight, but I will continue to stick to my guns here and go Francis Byrne. And as we now slide a little bit down here to the south, again, pretty much chalk in terms of who moved on, but again, I think that's that 5-4 matchup, pro. Winter is here, but there's no golf facility still as busy as Galloping Hill Golf Course in Union County, New Jersey. The courses are open all winter. At the Hill Tavern, kids eat for free all winter. The clubhouse at Galloping Hill is a hub for social events. From stunning weddings to lively corporate events, the clubhouse is a dynamic venue that can host any type of event you can imagine. But the real star of the winter is the Swing Suite at Galloping Hill. You can book your hour just to focus on improving your game, or book longer sessions for an unforgettable time with your friends while you watch the game. Enjoy the bar-style food and drinks while playing some of the most famous courses in the world on the simulator. It's a perfect blend of sport and socializing where even non-golfers can have a blast. Head to learningcenterghgc.com to book your slots now. If you'd like to reserve the space for a group outing, please contact Greg Ward at 908-241-8700, extension 308. It's all happening this winter at Galloping Hill Golf Course.
Yeah, no doubt. And we look at the South region there in the
West region.
Sorry.
I kind of put you on. I put you on.
Ballyowen going up 524 votes. I mean, that's a large number. So if Ballyowen continues to do that, it's going to be tough to beat. I mean, 524 is a lot of people clicking on them. So, a dominating victory by them. They're gonna go up against Seaview as well. So we're going in the South there as well, and they're going to be playing the Pines course. So Seaview having two of the teams into the round of 16 is very impressive. There's no question, but they're going up against some big time guns now. And then listen, we got an incredible matchup there in the Architects versus Rock Spring. I mean, that to me is a total coin flip. That one could go down to the wire, in my opinion, and really going to be some tough matchups there in regards to that. And I think Architects obviously gets incredible support. Rock Spring gets incredible support. A really cool architecture, and go figure, because Architects Club, but a really cool architecture matchup. Rock Spring, historic architects. Obviously, the Architects Club highlighting individual architects per hole. So a really, really unique matchup there in the Sweet 16 of the West region.
Yeah, listen, I will say this to your earlier point right there. You got to give Seaview credit, man. You got two golf courses there, and people may not talk as highly of the Pines as they do the Bay because the LPGA Tour plays the ShopRite Classic there. But man, you got two courses sliding into the Sweet 16. That is impressive work, I have to admit, because you got Monmouth County course, Parks courses, they don't make it all there. You got Crystal Springs resort courses, they don't both make it. Like, you got 2 of 2 in terms of Seaview. So you got to give them credit. You got to give their people credit for coming out and voting. But yeah, I mean, 524 votes for Ballyowen is an absolutely stupid, sick number. I appreciate the votes. I truly do. But yeah, that matchup 2-3 may go down as one of the closest, most voted on matches that we'll ever have, because I just got to think that two big name golf clubs up there in the North and the Northwest that are just going to really be interesting in terms of who will come out. I kind of thought Old Bridge may give Architects a better run for their money. Unfortunately, they didn't. But I guess it's got to be hard to think that someone is going to take down Ballyowen if they're able to comprise over 500 votes. Now, as we kind of pivot here to the east a little bit, Um, and I got to be put on blast a little bit here, Pro. I thought Highbridge Hills was going to be my upset of the week, taking down Shoregate. I know Greg Johnson was in the lead after the first round of voting, and I kind of thought Highbridge Hills, and boy, oh boy, you want to talk about an absolute bloodbath there for Highbridge Hills. Shoregate just absolutely swallowed them up.
Yeah, they sure did. And then, Wild Turkey obviously taking down, call it their brother or sister course up there at Crystal Springs. So, a really close matchup there, and could have probably seen that one go either way, but so we're going to have Shoregate going up against Wild Turkey, and with the way the voting's shaken out, that's going to be a good matchup. But Shoregate's definitely looking like, once again, a very, very strong number one seed there. And then we get into a matchup that I think is worth discussion here. It's somewhat of a local one for me. You obviously have spoke very highly of Eagle Ridge. I've talked about it myself too. It used to be 27 holes, a great facility. Riley Plitz does an incredible job there, and a really, really cool golf course. They're now down to 18 holes, but they're a solid 18 holes, and Eagle Ridge has come out. There's no doubt. And listen, that was your pick to advance in this bracket. Nob Hill was not my pick, but I have spoken very highly of Nob Hill, and I've spoken highly of Lou Cabisa over there. And listen, those are two friends of mine, Riley Plitz and Lou Cabisa, and they're going to be going up against each other. They're two great golfers too, by the way. So if they went out on the golf course and played a match play event, the two of them, I would pay to go out and watch that. So really looking forward to that matchup and seeing how that shakes out. But really, Shoregate once again looking like they're going to be a tough out there in the East region.
You know what's crazy too is at one point throughout the day of voting on last Wednesday, I looked at it and Hominy Hill was absolutely manhandling Nob Hill. And I don't know what went on behind the scenes, but all of a sudden, I think it went on a 50-0 run of terms of votes for Nob Hill. I don't know if Lou clicked the button. I don't know if you sent a text. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden it was like a 50-0 run, and then Nob Hill took the lead by 15 votes. And then for them, they never looked back. And to think that a 7 seed got the most votes in the actual East region is incredible. To think a 7 seed got more votes than the 1. I think I'm blown away by that number. And I'm fascinated that here's our Cinderella story potentially, because the matchup is there. You said it. I think Eagle Ridge is the winner of this region. That's what I put in my bracket. But I didn't predict a formidable 7 seed of Nob Hill being their opponent. So I'm a little worried there, because if Nob Hill turned out for your predicted winner of Hominy Hill, again, just shows Monmouth County may still be sleeping. I don't really feel as comfortable about my prediction with Eagle Ridge. But listen, time will tell. I love the fact that Wild Turkey took down Crystal Springs by 1 vote. Again, just shows the power of your vote. But I also think, from my personal opinion, I do think Wild Turkey is a better golf course than Crystal Springs. So seeing them move on kind of validates at least not only my thought, but the 309 people that kind of agree with it.
So are you going out on a wing here and saying the winner of Eagle Ridge and Nob Hill will ultimately come out of that region?
100%. I don't even think it's a question. I don't. I think Nob Hill is all of a sudden scares me. I can't lie. It's like one of those teams that all of a sudden they're getting hot at the right time. People are talking about them at the right time. And we all know come March Madness, that's what you want. I know. I mean, people see it right now. You see what Texas is doing, the playing game. They get through. They upset the 3 seed. Like, you see that. Like, it's right there. They're like the Texas right now of what's going on in college basketball. Do you agree?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, it's going to be a great tomorrow when that matchup gets posted, because that'll be one I'll keep going back and checking. Now, as we slide into the last one, we're heading down here to the south. And I think one thing, again, you stand out when you look at all these numbers, is we thought that Ballyowen got a lot of votes, over 500 and something votes. You saw it. But here's where the golf course that got the most votes for the second round is Neshannock Valley. 531 people came out and voted for them, which is an absolutely ludicrous number when you think their golf course did not share the story.
Yeah. A crazy amount of votes, 531 votes, 531 clicks. Listen, it's an incredible facility. There's no doubt. And I almost feel, and I don't know if I have said this before, but I almost feel, because I remember I played a state open qualifier at Neshannock Valley. God, this is probably about 10 years ago. And I remember walking away from that place and being like, I could play there every day. I really could. So it's no surprise to me. And I don't know if I personally have talked about Neshannock Valley enough, but 531 votes obviously is showcasing how great of a facility it is. So they're going to go up against Heron Glen, which you've talked about Heron Glen. I think you picked them to come out of that region. So very impressive that they've gotten to the Sweet 16. Listen, that little Cinderella dream of Heron Glen may be hitting the wall here very soon. Like Neshannock Valley might be going full court press the entire game, and it's going to make it very difficult for Heron Glen to come out of that Sweet 16 matchup. And then I think we got an interesting one now. Ballamore put up 478 votes. So, that's a very impressive number as well. And they're going to go up against Berkshire Valley. So on a vote scale right there, it looks like Ballamore should come out on top on that, but you never know how it's going to shake out. So I think this is the best region in regards to the two matchups in the Sweet 16, in my opinion. I really do feel like when it comes to a golf course perspective, they're probably the best four that are in a certain bracket for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think when you look at the numbers, it was 4 dominating wins, 531 votes, 419, 376, 478. I think if you look on the other sides, nobody of the 4 that moved on accumulated that many votes. And I do believe, and I don't quote me here, but I do believe Ballamore received the most votes for a number 2 seed. 478 votes for a 2 seed is unbelievable. And unfortunately, McCullough's, their little Cinderella story, playing from the play-in rounds, the qualifying rounds is what we called it here. Heron Glen did kind of flex its muscles a little bit. But yeah, listen, that is we said when we put these, I got to give, last week I know I criticized the panel for adding a team in or / a golf course that may not should have been in the tournament, right? They shouldn't have been in there, whatever, hand went up. But I think they nailed this one. You talk about the top 4 seeds here on the side. They nailed it. They got 1 through 4 here. So, you got to criticize people when mistakes happen. Sure, throw it out there. But you also got to give credit where credit's due. I think the panel kind of nailed this one, keeping these 4 teams. And I will say this, as we kind of venture into this thing a little bit, let me see if I can fix my computer. Here we go. All right. So, listen, it is going to be a very interesting tomorrow. And if you aren't yet, you got to go follow at @the_drop_pod on Instagram, because I think a few things became really clear in this round. One, the seating is not protected. You are not protected regardless of what your number is. Courses in the bracket making serious moves, i.e. Nob Hill and Eagle Ridge. And that's what's going to make this Sweet 16 voting so good. I kind of think the easy picks are gone, Pro. I think it's like, here we go. Every man up. You got big names, big golf facilities. Let's see what can happen.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible to see how it shakes out. Can't wait to be here next week talking about the Elite 8 matchup. And we got your brother in the background here right now. He's here showing up for his early morning loop. You want to give a little love, get the other poor brother on the screen, live in action.
There you go. Listen, it's going to be a great voting. I will say this. I know I got some DMs asking me, Mike, what time is it going to come out tomorrow? I will say this. It's preferably going to come out in the morning, so it gives everybody an opportunity to vote. Sometimes it's noonish, depending on the lunch break, but nonetheless, you got to go check it out at @the_drop_pod on Instagram. Voting goes live tomorrow. All right, so now, Pro, we got to talk about our Tee to Green event. Because I think early on, maybe about a month ago, the idea started being discussed. Can we actually hold an event? Is that something where people would show up? Do we have the community that's strong enough that not only listens, follows, engages, but actually come and participate in a live event. And, we discussed it. Shaq was included in terms of like, let's give it a go. And we tried it. And I can't say anything other than success. And I know a lot of people, take that word and it means 100,000 people or $100,000 or 100 people or $100. But success varies for everybody. But the idea that we can say that it was a full event, we had males, we had females, we had a husband-wife team signed up, we had a husband-daughter team signed up and play. We had high handicappers, we had low handicappers. We had people that didn't know about the podcast. We had people that followed from the beginning. Frankly, we had our guest, Corey Brigham, our first ever guest, participate in the event. Like, you name it, I thought the event was unbelievable in every which way. And before I even kind of give you a chance to speak here, I do got to start off with a lot of thank yous, because I know that, my name is the one that's tied in with the podcast and what is going on. But frankly, I can't do what I do if I don't have a phenomenal supporting team. And I know that, like, Shaq behind the scenes has been, my go-to in helping run these things, talk about things, promote these things. So I can't thank him enough. I can't thank you enough, Pro. You came on in January and you kind of been, a steady force in helping this ship continue to drive forward. Your prizes that you donated to the raffle were simply unbelievable. The amount of people that even said, does it come with a round of golf was funny in some aspects. Jason there filming and capturing tonight. You're going to see a nice video come out in a few weeks here. The guys at Tee to Green, Mike, his crew, Amy was absolutely phenomenal. My buddy Tom, who handled all the food, making sure that got done. Bill handled all the hats. It was a total team effort. And I know people say, Mike, great job. But it's not just Mike. It's the entire Drop Podcast team. And yes, we're starting to develop a little bit of a team here. And that's kind of the whole idea. As this thing continues to grow, it continues to expand, and that tree has some branches popping out left and right. This was an absolute total team effort.
Yeah, well, appreciate you saying all those things, because, listen, this is what I do on a daily basis. I run golf tournaments here at Manasquan River, and to watch it, from that perspective, I know you talked about the team and all that, and trust me, every little hand has a big hand in the ultimate outcome of the event, but it starts at the top, and your passion for it. And the passion for what it could become and what it then did become was really cool to watch. It was great to be there in person. It was great to see the energy, the excitement about the Drop Podcast, but then also just getting people together, playing a great golf course in Liberty National. And I think everybody had a great time. And we're going to get into it here very shortly about how it all shook out, how we crowned a champion. And it was really exciting right down to the wire. But well done by you. Well done by everybody involved. And like you said, Tee to Green, they nailed it. Like, they really did a fantastic job. They knocked it out of the park. Their service level was off the charts. I mean, they made it seamless for us when we showed up. I fully expected, I have a little bit knowledge of TrackMan software. I fully expected to be showing up and having to plug things in. They already had it all taken care of by the time we got there. They had signs on each bay who was playing there. It was very, very well done. So kudos to everybody for everything involved. And it was a top level run event, which is what I try to pride myself on here at Manasquan River. So it was great to see the Drop Podcast be run to the highest degree.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that, like, as the guy in charge, you're putting events like this together, you just never know, right? You never know. Like, are people going to show? Are people not going to show? Do people want to sign up? And again, it just kind of validated the community that we're trying to build here when you're talking golfing in the Garden State. The amount of people that came up to me throughout the night saying, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. I went and played this golf course because of what you said. Some people even said to me, hey, I started to up how much I'm willing to pay at golf courses because I want to pay for a little more quality. Like, those are things that the idea and the premise when this thing was started way back in October of 2022 was, we're going to play golf. We're going to talk golf, and we're going to experience all things golfing in the Garden State to get it to come to a point like this where people are now asking, well, when's the next one? Are you going to do one outside? that community of having an idea like, hey, listen, if we're able to draw people into events like this, yeah, listen, we would love to do more of them. So for the 32 people that signed up, that paid, that participated, again, I can't thank you enough from legitimately the bottom of my heart. But I think to your point, Pro, we got to talk about the actual result. So we played a 2-man scramble at Liberty National. You know, the men played from the Liberty tees and the females played from the forward tees. It was 50% net team handicap. And yes, it was a net event because we want to make it fair for the entire field. But the way the thing ended was simply incredible. We had 2 teams absolutely going back and forth with each other the entire night. You and I are bouncing from one bay to the next. What are these guys doing? What are these guys doing? And the way that it ended with Carter damn near holing his second shot on the 18th hole at Liberty National to get his shot to 1 foot 8 inches for a gimme birdie to seal the deal for the victory. They finished 11 under net score. So Carter, and I promise if I butchered, I apologize. Carter Bommersbach and Chris Hart, they were the winners. I just can't believe the way that thing ended.
Yeah, it was incredible golf. And it was like a tale of 2 different teams, in all honesty. Like bouncing back and forth watching them, you had a team that was like scrappy and was doing it the hard way, and they were hitting great chip shots and all that kind of stuff. And then you had Carter and Chris that were just absolutely bombing the golf ball. Like both of these individuals were getting their club speed over 120 miles per hour, and they were just absolutely unloading on tee balls and leaving themselves short little wedge shots the entire night. And to their credit, they were hitting those short little wedge shots inside of that circle quite often. But the way it shook out was, you had the one team in the one bay that were just slightly, they were about a half a hole ahead of Carter and Chris. And they came to the tee, down by 1 on 18. They knew they had to make birdie. And they hit a good tee ball down the middle of the fairway. And I think they had about a 145-yard shot. And they knocked that thing in the circle about 8 feet away. So anything inside 10 feet was in the gimme range. So they stepped up and they hit that shot, and they got to 10 under because both teams got a shot on the last hole. So going into the hole, they were at 8 under and 9 under. So they knocked it in the circle. They got to 10 under par with the net eagle. So then it was up to Carter and Chris, and man, they unloaded a tee ball. Like Chris hit a tee ball down the right-hand side of the fairway, and they left them 108 yards into the green. So think about that. The previous team had about 145. They were up there at 108, but the pressure was on, and Carter stepped up first, and man, a video is going to come out about it, and it is going to be incredible because he darn near holed it. The way he landed it about hole high, it took a hop forward, and then it pulled back to, like you said, 1 foot 8 inches away, so 20 inches away from the flag for that little tap in gimme birdie net eagle, got them to 11 under. It was incredible. The excitement right there was awesome. I can't wait to see it captured on video. It's going to be really cool. And I hope everybody will get a feel for how exciting the night was, because right there, then and then, it really showcased it. And it was an awesome finish to an awesome night.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That was Chris and Rich in the other bay that were kind of bouncing back and forth. The amount of people that were jumping from their bay to the other bay with us because they just wanted to see this live in action, not even caring about what was going on in their bays. Yeah, that video is going to be something. But congrats to them. They won the winner's prize, again, donated by you. Brand new Manasquan River golf bags, sick bags. The coloring was phenomenal. So congrats to them. And listen, what an event. Hopefully we'll have more to come, and you got to keep your eyes and ears out because we may be working on something else down the road. The last thing here, Pro, I want to kind of talk about is I did venture down to McCullough's Emerald Golf Links this past Friday, and I knew that they were the Cinderella story out of the qualifying rounds. So I said, hey, listen, let's go take a peek at what a lot of people are talking about at this place. I've never been there. I've heard about it, but I've never played it. And I'll say this. I know your earlier point at the top about the superintendents killing it. Well, their superintendent as well. His name is Steve. Listen, you don't know what to expect from a public golf course in the month of March after the winter we had. But the place was green. It was lush. Now, they didn't have their high Scottish links type feel completely out in full bloom, but the greens rolled. There was no water anywhere. Some fairways might have been a little damp, but not unplayable to any extent. I was absolutely blown away with the conditions of the golf course. So, yes, to echo that point early on, congrats to the superintendents because they nailed it. But about the golf course, you want to talk about a true Irish, Scottish golfing experience. Well, it's right there in Egg Harbor. Like, you don't need to go across the pond to see it because, man, for 16 of the 18 holes, it's right there. I don't think I've ever played at a golf course that's windier than that place. There was times I thought, you'll see it on camera. I hit a drive and I'm like, dude, I smashed that. I think it went 197. No joke. 197 was the rollout, not the carry, the rollout. And I'm like, dude, I am like 300 yards in. There's par fours I'm hitting driver 3-wood in after what I think is hitting good drives. That place, man, it's sneaky good. And I know one of the questions we get a lot, well, Mike, how expensive is it? Like, what's it cost, Mike? Because, you talk so highly about places. What does it cost? Well, they follow the dynamic pricing. And for people that don't realize that, it can fluctuate. There's not a set price when it comes to dynamic pricing. But I will say this. If you're looking for a spot to play, I checked. I went and did some research on my own. It's $90 to play on a weekend morning with a golf cart. So again, for everybody that kind of labels the $100 as like the high end aspect of it, well, this is below it. That's below it. And you get the golf cart included. It's not the additional just greens fees price. And then the nice thing is, if you want to go play later on, you want to find a cheaper number. Well, around 3:00, you got twilight, daylight savings. We're getting a little more time now to go play golf. It's only $45. And yes, that includes a cart if you want to go play at 3:00. So you got prices that I think are extremely affordable when you're talking golfing in the Garden State. And I do want to give a quick shout out here. I know he listens all the time. He shoots me the text when I mess up on things. So I do appreciate the correction. But Stephen K designed 17 of those holes after famous European golf courses. And the nice thing is, like, when you look at the scorecard, each one of those holes has a name. It tells you the replica, where it came from, the ideas, and how it emulates it. And obviously their signature 7th hole, a tribute to the architect, Alistair McKenzie. Again, a really, really fun place. I did talk to a lot of people afterwards. They said, was the wind blowing? I said, was the wind blowing? You have no idea what the wind was doing. And they said to me, it's like that all the time. So listen, the last thing I will say about McCullough's is you're going to see a very similar theme to all the Mike videos for 18 holes this year. We are going to go strictly on an over-under series. Pro and I have been doing this with making picks, a little competition. Well, we are having the over-under series, and we're just going to set every single round at 78.5. Can Mike do it? And I will tell you this, when that video comes out, you have to watch until the end. So, Pro, listen, don't sleep on McCullough's. You want to really test your game in the wind, man? That is a place that people got to go check out.
Listen, I love playing golf across the pond. I absolutely love it. And it sounds like I got one about an hour south of there that could be really darn special. Like I said, I think I talked about it a few weeks ago. I've never personally played it. I've driven past it. I've looked at it from the road. It looks really cool. So definitely might have to venture down there and play a little golf at McCullough's because everything you just said sounded fantastic. So look forward to that experience one day. And to McCullough's, keep doing what you're doing. Sounds like you got some great rates going on. Sounds like you got an incredible experience. So when you combine great rates and an incredible experience, seems like it's a win-win across the board.
No doubt about it. So as we kind of pivot here to our fast facts of the week, I can kind of be rather quick because as we looked at the Valspar from last week, Max did withdraw before the event, never heard the why. But it is what it is. Chris was not in the field, so there's not much to report from our Jersey guys there at the Valspar. But as we pivot to this week's Texas Children's Houston Open, Max is back in the field along with Chris Goddard. You got to think this is their final tune-up before Augusta. I can't imagine them playing 3 consecutive weeks with Augusta being their third week. You kind of agree there, Pro?
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't imagine either one goes into San Antonio unless maybe, one of them struggles. Like maybe if Max struggles here in Houston, he might, last second make a decision to go play San Antonio. But I would imagine, like you said, this is their final tune-up before Augusta. I think Houston tries to make the golf course as close to Augusta as possible in regards to conditioning and some of the visuals. So this is always a really nice tune-up in regards to Augusta, and hopefully they both play well and they carry some great momentum going into Augusta National for sure.
100%. And then the Corn Ferry Tour is back this week. Last week you heard the interview with James Nicholas. It was his birthday last Friday. So the timing for us to release that interview on Thursday was a little pre-birthday celebration. But to hear him talk about what has gone on his Corn Ferry Tour season, his win at Bogota, and now looking forward to what's ahead. Here's what's ahead. They're back here in the States at the Landings Golf and Athletic Club down there in Georgia. John Pack, James Nicholas, both in the field. So best of luck to those two as they get back in the swing of things. Now, as we look from the grandstand, we're going to kind of throw a curveball to the audience. I don't know if I'm going to catch you looking or you're going to knock this out of the ballpark. But we didn't take any questions this week because the pro said to me, I got to get some things off my chest about what transpired in terms of fan behavior, not only at the Waste Management that is notoriously known for a different kind of fan, but also what transpired a little bit at the Players. So, Pro, I'm going to toss the mic over to you.
Yeah, so, people might listen to this and they might say it's a little on the personal side. For those of you that don't know, I do have a good friendship with Matt Fitzpatrick. He is married to a junior member here at the club. He's become a good friend. When he's here in town, we teed up together a little bit. So obviously, I was on the edge of my seat. We talked about it. I had Ludwig Oberg. I picked him to win the Players' Championship, and I did not expect him to kind of struggle during that final round. But when it got to the back nine, Ludwig hit some loose shots, but that made it an open event for a lot of people that were trailing Ludwig. And Matt Fitzpatrick played an incredible round of golf. And it was really cool to see. I'm watching it with my 5-year-old son, who's a big Matt Fitzpatrick fan. And we're on the edge of our seats and we're watching and he's playing great. And before I go on a little bit of a rant, I got to give credit where credit's deserved, because Cameron Young stepped up and hit an incredible shot on the 17th tee, hit an incredible putt on the 17th hole to come tied with Matt Fitzpatrick going to the 18th tee, and then stepped up and hit arguably one of the greatest tee balls I have ever seen hit in a certain moment like that. I mean, they have the shot link data, and it went the furthest that a shot has ever gone on the 18th hole there at TPC Sawgrass. So got to give credit where it's deserved. But what I want to talk about is I don't know what is happening in regards to the fans on the PGA Tour, but it is extremely disrespectful. Their antics out there, the game of golf is tradition, it's history, it's a gentleman's game. And the players out there are doing all that, but the fans are certainly taking it away from that. And I got no problem. This is a tour that is based in the United States. And when you have a United States player going up against a European player in Matt Fitzpatrick, and when Cameron Young rolls that putt in on 17, I have no problem with the USA chance. No problem with that at all. All right. I think Matt actually chuckles at that. He laughs it off a little bit. It's got that Ryder Cup vibe a little bit, even though it's not the Ryder Cup. But what I do have a problem with is these guys work so hard and dedicate so much to their craft. And then when they're walking up to go to the 18th tee, Matt was going through the tunnel first. He must have stopped in there real quick. I don't know if there was a restroom there or something like that he took a little pivot to and stopped. So Cameron Young got out to the 18th tee first. There was a big ovation, a lot of cheers and all that kind of stuff. And then Matt Fitzpatrick showed up about a minute after Cameron Young, and it was no longer the USA chance. It then turned into Matt Fitzpatrick actually getting booed when he walked out onto the 18th tee. And to me, that is totally unacceptable, totally should not be permitted at all at a venue like that. Because once again, these guys are working so hard on their craft, and they're playing in the PJ Tour's highlighted, stapled event of the season to crown arguably the biggest championship on the PJ Tour, because we all know the majors are a separate entity. So this is the biggest event on the PJ Tour, and this guy has a chance to crown that championship, and he's getting booed on the 18th tee. And there's one thing that happens, all right? It's alcohol sales. There's no way that if there's a golfer, a golf fan there that is sober and that has a passion for the game of golf would actually be booing somebody. So I don't know what needs to happen. I know alcohol sales obviously generate a lot of revenue at a PJ Tour event, but there's one place that none of that stuff happens. And that's the place that they're going to be going to in 2 weeks from now. Never happens at Augusta. Yes, they do serve alcohol, but I'll tell you, maybe the security or something is a little bit more enhanced there, or maybe the fans that are walking into that arena at Augusta National are just a little bit more respectful. But in my opinion, there's one place that it never happens. The waste management, we all know it happens. And I think for the players that sign up for that event, they know what they're getting themselves into. That's like that one oddity that, listen, it could be what it is, all right? But week in, week out, there's no place for this on the PJ Tour. I'm obviously using this place as a little voice for Chris Dimmick. Probably not going to go anywhere, but I hope people feel the same way. And I'd like to see it come to an end, because it was actually very difficult to watch, not only for a personal friend in Matt, but if you're a fan of golf in general, in my opinion, there's no place for that.
And I'll say this, and I know you and I talked about this, earlier in the week about leading up to this whole thing. And yes, I do agree. The actual behavior is unnecessary, right? I do think we want everybody to be included in golf. You're not a golfer, come play, come enjoy it. But you got to understand there are traditional norms when it comes to being simply respectful. Because like I said to you earlier in the week, the same thing happened to Brian Harman a few years ago at the British Open. He got grilled and people said some really bad things to him out there when he went on to just dominate and win the British Open. So I don't care if we're across the pond. I don't care if we're here at home. The idea is like, let's just be respectful. You could root for whoever the hell you want to root for. I'm not saying that. But when you start crossing the lines about saying personal things, start cursing, it's unnecessary in my eyes in a non-team event, not the President's Cup, not the Ryder Cup, an actual event, whether it's a major or whether it's the players or whether it's this coming week at the Texans, Children's Houston, whatever the Open is, whatever that name is. Like, I don't care where it is. There needs to be that just common decency of, hey, listen, I don't like you. I'm not rooting for you, but I'm not going to say something inappropriate to you either. So it kind of goes a little both ways. I just would rather that not partake in anything that goes on. But I know you and I kind of talked about the Brian Harman thing as well, because he came on multiple podcasts and said, man, you should have heard the things that the people were saying to me as well. And that happened over there. And we have no relation to a guy like Brian Harman. Now, if Brian Harman wants to come on the show and tell us his experience, shoot me a DM. I'd gladly get you on the show. But I do know what you're saying. I do think that's kind of the open policy that we have here in golf, is we're inviting anybody and everybody. And sometimes they need to get an education on simple, respectful things on what to say and what not to say.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, listen, stop drinking, or don't drink as much. I think that's ultimately. You may like to drink, you may like to pound the beers, the alcohol, go for it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I will say, let's just be respectful.
100%. And hopefully something, I don't know if it was talked about enough. I watched a lot of Golf Channel, and I don't know if it was highlighted enough, but things need to change. Like I look at two sports that are kind of hand in hand, and they're gentlemen's games, ladies' games, they're respectful games. The game of golf and the sport of tennis, in my opinion, kind of go hand in hand. And when I watch Wimbledon, or I watch the U.S. Open, or I watch the Australian Open or the French Open, which that's the only tennis I watch, I don't see anybody getting booed in a tennis match. It just doesn't happen. All right. So in my opinion, when they're out there and they're honing their craft, booing somebody or yelling things that are extremely inappropriate, that aspect needs to get away from the game of golf completely.
There you go. Let's hear if you disagree with us, send me a DM. I'd love to hear the why as to why we need to add more of that type of atmosphere. I know because people may say, well, what about basketball games? What about football games? So if you have some comments, shoot me a DM, respond here on YouTube, throw it in the chat. I'll definitely respond to you. Now, as we look at our picks this week, obviously, as we're recording at the current time, the Valspar is not complete. But at the current time, Matt Fitzpatrick is T4, and he is leading my pick, Jacob Bridgman, who's T17. So we won't know the definitive in terms of the results because even Ludwig last week made it a little bit interesting for my man Brooks. If he doesn't make a double on the last hole, who knows what could happen. But you did take the victory last week. I believe now we're sitting at 2-2, heading into, well, it may be 3-2 you if you actually pull the win with Matt Fitzpatrick. But as we look ahead to the Texans, God, this is a hard one for me to say. I keep saying Texans. It's the Texas Children's Houston Open. These long titles, I'm not into these long titles. You get first pick, bro. You get first pick. And I know I went on my rant last week about you being hot. I'm dying to know who you got this week.
Yeah. So we're going to see how it shakes out today. We don't know. Like you just said, Jacob could have a great round. Matt could have a tough round. So real quick before the picks, we talked about Brooks Koepka here a little bit. I want to highlight something that he did yesterday that was really cool and unique. So he was on the 15th hole, the par 3 there at Innisbrook. And as he was approaching the green, something happened in the spectator area to the left of that hole. There was actually a young girl that I think was about the age of 5 or 6 years old that actually got ran over by a golf cart. She got trapped underneath the golf cart. Thankfully, she's perfectly okay. But it was so awesome to see Brooks Koepka sprint dead left, go underneath the ropes, go there and be the dad that he has already become. And he really took it a point to be there to console her, to make sure that she was okay, talking to her father. So I want to give a shout out to Brooks Koepka because that was really awesome to see and really cool. So when we get into our picks for this week, yes, I do get the first pick because I'm currently leading. And I'm going to go with a guy who has one PGA Tour win in his career so far, has had great success since getting on the PGA Tour last year. He won a tournament and has been very, very solid. Not many people might know the name because he's not a highlight name, but I'm going to go with Ryan Gerard for the victory.
Bro, I want to, if I could right now, I want to share my screen. I'm going to quickly do this. I know it's not planned or anything, but I'm going to go to my screen real quick here. Look at who my guy is on the screen.
Dang, that's what it takes. You gotta be leading to get that first pick.
Are you serious right now with that? Are you kidding me? I literally pulled up Ryan Gerard. He finished top 10 last year at the event. He's playing good golf this week. He's coming off a week off. Like, I literally said, I'm going Ryan Gerard. He's not picking Ryan Gerard.
Listen, great minds think alike.
I guess so. But man, oh man, I guess I'm going to have to go to my option 2 because most of the time I don't write it down in option 2 because I don't think the odds of you and I picking the same exact person would actually happen. So for whatever reason, I did have an option B, and my pick this week is Ben Griffin. I'm going Ben Griffin. I'm not a Ben Griffin guy. People can yell at me all they want. Last year, I did not think he should have been on the Ryder Cup team, regardless of how many wins or how many times he played. I just wasn't a Ben Griffin fan for that type of environment. But I am a fan for Ben Griffin this week at the Houston, Texas Children's whatever Open that we have going on this week. And I am going to ride Ben Griffin, his sunglasses, all the way to the winner's circle because I am not losing this week with Ben Griffin. So I hope Ryan Gerard goes out there and craps the bed because he should have been on Team Mike, not Team Chris. But I guess that's what happens when you have the first pick, bro.
By the way, they're good friends. Gerard and Griffin, they are good friends. I believe they both are UNC Tar Heels. I believe that's the case. So really cool. Good matchup. Sorry I stole that one from you, but it pays that Matt Fitzpatrick's playing better golf than Bridgman this week. So I got that first pick. And Ryan Gerard to the moon. Let's go, baby.
I did not envision you taking Ryan Gerard. I started doing some research real quick about how he's been playing this season, how he's played there in the past. Okay, well, listen, here you go. The Texas Children's Houston Open. And yes, I did finally say that correct right now. I got Ben Griffin. The pros got Ryan Gerard. So we'll see how that goes. But again, wow, oh wow, I said at the top, I knew this was going to be a loaded, jam-packed, fun episode. You know, you got the round of 32. It gave us everything that we were hoping for. Upsets, razor-thin finishes, some vote totals that were just mind-blowing in every single aspect. Again, as a reminder, voting goes live tomorrow on Instagram. If you're not following, go follow the Drop Podcast at the Drop_pod. And as I've been saying, if you continue to enjoy what we got going on here, it's not even golf season and things are so hot right now. Jump aboard this ship because it is moving very quickly. Make sure you subscribe, leave a rating and review, share it with somebody who simply just loves golfing in the Garden State like we do. I appreciate everybody listening, voting. Tee to Green, tremendous success. And Pro, coming up Thursday, we've got a really fun one for that competitive golfer out there. We've got Chris Gaffney, Director of Championships for the MGA. He joins the show, so you got to make sure you tune in for that one.
Yeah, Chris is a great dude. We had the Met Mid-Am Championship here a few years ago, so I spent a lot of time with Chris leading up to that, and then the actual days that it was here. Really, really good guy, passionate about what he does. So looking forward to hearing that conversation. And once again, like Mike has said, thank you to everybody involved for the event at Tee to Green. Thank you to the 32 participants. Without them, the event wouldn't have happened. All the stuff behind the scenes that you did, Tee to Green did, that your team did, was fantastic. But without the 32 participants, the event doesn't happen. So once again, a thank you to all of them. Looking forward to seeing how the Sweet 16 shakes out. Looking forward to discussing it next week, and we will see who moves on to the Elite Eight.
So until then, Thursday, big one. Enjoy, my friends. The New Jersey Golf Foundation, the charitable arm of the New Jersey PGA section, is committed to positively impacting lives and communities through the game of golf, with a focus on their 3 core pillars: youth, military, and special needs, and led by PGA of America golf professionals. The New Jersey Golf Foundation hosts a dynamic lineup of annual programs for all levels and abilities, and a series of special events to support programming. Signature youth programs include Golf in Schools and PGA Junior League, while military programming is highlighted by PGA Hope, a weekly rehabilitative golf program that is saving the lives of military veterans. The foundation is also a strong advocate for inclusion through its support of Special Olympics, New Jersey Golf, and L's for Autism. To support programs and special events, please visit njgolffoundation.org or call 732-465-1212. That's njgolffoundation.org or 732-465-1212.